To successful 2023.
Welcome to podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I'll talk about whatever. My life's all kinds of crazy.
Hit the bell!
Because you have an Android.
Oh yeah, that's like it. Just suck.
Just subscribe already. If we get a building, to be able to have something like this for people to stay. Yeah. Like if they're traveling from far away.
Maybe.
I have thought about that because it's like I have some people that are out of state that would love, like the people that own Tough Wraps. I would love to have like fly them in, but then it's like, what do I do with them? Like they can't just.
Forget you.
Huh?
They'll never forget you if you put them up in a yurt. Like,
No, they wouldn't. No, that would be an experience for sure. That would definitely be an experience. I think it'd be cool. I was even saying like if we got a building, we could just like design a room around it, but still be inside. Because I was like, there's going to be a problem with, you need a bathroom, or like in the winter. Yeah, in the winter it could get very cold. In this thing, I'm sure.
it's just
This looks like Arabians is like in this area. It's going to be warm all the time.
true. Yeah.
So
This is a different culture completely.
right, but it'd still be cool to like build something that's just like that. Like when you walk into a room and it's just
Yeah. Well, I love I've thought about that a few times, like how in America everything's just like boxes and squares, and like I've seen some different like custom crafted homes where it's like everything's like curved, and it's really
I feel like
different.
even churches used to be like that because so I had a step uncle pass away like a month ago, and like my family's Catholic, so it's at this Catholic church, but the whole entire church, it's not even rounded at top. It's like a scooped in and then up, and it's just this crazy design of like, and I guarantee it's like partially for like the vocals for like when people sing and stuff, but like when you walk in, it's like only like 7 foot tall, and then as it like curves like a ramp like that goes up, and it's like the craziest thing ever. I'm like, they don't build nothing like this anymore, because like now they're just like efficiency, right? They're just what's cheap and efficient, and that's all they built. And I was like, that's kind of cool. I couldn't imagine what it would take to build something like that though.
a lot of work.
Yeah, a lot, because this wasn't plaster or drywall. I'm pretty sure it was concrete, like as it curved up. And I bet at the tallest point, it had to be, well, probably at least 2 stories at least. So I bet it was actually like 25 feet, like to the height of the ceiling, which is pretty tall. And it was just one massive curve the whole way through it. So yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. But they really don't build anything like that anymore. So
Why-
you're saying we should be?
Think outside the box. Yeah, and it's going to take a lot. It's going to take more work, but like even like in nature, when trees, you see how the trees move. They're like, they glide off of the trunk, and it's like, and then it hangs over you, and it's protective, and it's like, those are the movements of nature. It's like, why can't we have that reflected in our living spaces?
Sure. I definitely think some do, just not
Yeah.
enough. And it's definitely falling further and further away from that. Have you seen them, like they're Hawaiian trees, but it's almost like stalks going up for the trunks, and they get to be like this big, but they're all connected as one tree. You know what I'm talking about?
I think I know what you're talking about.
Look that up, Ariel. It's like we seen it. We were watching. So I'm going to Hawaii in December for the first time, and so like I just been watching YouTube videos, and just because like when I'm into something, I get like obsessed with it almost. So I've just been watching YouTube videos of people going to Hawaii, and this thing right here. This one? No, the one to the left. I think that's the same one. Okay, you're all over the place. That one. Have you seen them?
No.
Lahaina, right? Is that right?
Yeah, you got it.
Lahaina banyan tree.
Banyan?
Banyan tree, yeah. Which actually I think. So you never seen this before.
No.
So these trees go down to the one right below the mouse. No. To the right, down. That one, please. Apparently, all these are one connected tree. And it's just like, it's like one. Now, okay, and I could be totally wrong on this. I never knew this. I was just watching a YouTube video the other day. And they were saying like when you go to Maui, you got to check this out. They're like, it's so cool because it's like I think Maui has one of the largest ones in existence. I think, and it's just like they were saying that it's like all like one trunk. I don't know. I thought it was cool.
Gives me the chills. I'm like,
Really?
Whoa, I've never seen anything like that.
I think MGK has a song called Banyan Tree, which I just like now making a connection to because they didn't say what it was. They just said you gotta come check out this crazy tree, and I'm like, that is cool because you don't see nothing like that.
It's like
it looks
so,
like giant vines, don't it?
right, and it's like stuff like this makes me want to like. This is why I get out of my comfort zone, like, and that's why I look and explore because like I would have never seen that before. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's pretty wild stuff, and I guess it's only like a tropical thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah.
Well, you ready rolling this? We're kind of already rolling. If you're cool with that,
Yeah.
we're already rolling.
I mean, you may as well.
Sure. So anyone that's listening to the podcast, we have Juliet. Okay, so I just literally just met Juliet, like literally today. Talked for the first time today too. Someone else, Robert Brunk from Leatherwood. I got to know him. He was on the podcast now probably a month ago. If you guys haven't listened to that, definitely go check that out. But Juliet, Robert, and Robert's wife, Julia, are going into a business venture together that they won't tell me what it is, and I'm okay with that. I know I'll know eventually, but Robert was telling me, it was right after he came on the podcast. He texted me. He's like, hey, you want someone super interesting on the podcast? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And he's like, well, you got to have Juliet Rose on the podcast. And I'm like, all right, I'm down. Like, let's set this thing up. And he's like, well, let me see if she'll come on. And then he's like, because you're actually from Kansas, right?
Kansas City,
Kansas City. Okay. Basically Kansas.
Missouri.
Yeah. Is that like one of those things where it's like
It's one of those
things?
I worked at a comedy club, and like every comedian would be like, "Guys, what is with this? Like, you're Kansas City, but you're in Missouri, but you're in Kansas, and then the people from Kansas cheer, and like and they boo for the Missouri people. It's whatever. We're all
Such a
under
weird
one.
concept.
We're one.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I don't know. I call it. I don't know what to call it when I go there. I do like. I have some friends that live up in Kansas City, so we like to go downtown to Power Night District.
Yeah,
That's a cool area down there.
that's classic.
It's actually where one of my favorite steak restaurants is. I think it's called 807.
801?
801 Chop House.
I've been
yes,
there, yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah,
So good. I went down. So one of my friends, his name's Jimmy. I grew up with him, like childhood friend, like known him forever. And he moved down there just to pursue a new career. He went to school for music therapy. And so I think they have a really cheap school. Like it was either go to Maryville in St. Louis, and he said it was $60,000 a semester. And he was at the point where he was like, I don't even know if I'm going to keep pursuing this passion because of how expensive it was going to be. And then he had a friend that was down there, and they're like, hey, we have a school down here. You might look into it. And apparently it was so much cheaper. So he ended up going down there. And now he's selling insurance. So he's not even doing it. I think he got his degree. I think it was just once he got his degree, he was looking for a job. It was kind of one of those things where there's not a lot of positions for it, right? Because it's music therapy.
you
So,
kind of have to like just do your own thing, like just like start doing it. You know?
Yeah.
That's my theory, at least.
Yeah, I don't know if he actually got his degree. That's something I need to talk to him about because I know he sells Medicare. You know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah.
not like car insurance. He sells like insurance to old people basically, which he's great at it. Like he's such a nice guy, and he claims he makes good money. He claims he's happy. I bet he'll go back to it. He's like a big rocker. He just loves music. And he's just like a lover too. Like he's just like this massive like lover dude. So like it fits perfectly for him. I don't know, but I totally agree. Like if it was me, I would just be like, all right, I'll go start my own practice, right? And then it's just therapy. And I feel like you could do both. I feel like you could be doing therapy and music therapy. And if somebody doesn't want the music therapy part, you can still
Yeah.
help them with the therapy part.
I think it's like confusing for people when I've experienced this when you love something and then you have difficulty with it. It's like, I love this. This is what I do. Like for your friend, like he loves music. And then maybe it was hard. Like, how do I teach this to people? How do I transfer this into a therapy thing that I want it to be? And it's like the actual transferring part and like the run into hard things. It's like, I think that's like, for me, it was shocking too. Because I was pursuing art for the longest time. But then I would sit down and try to paint and it was like, drawing blanks. I was like, I don't know how to, I kind of forgot how to create a little bit just because I got so into the thought of like, I'm pursuing this. Is this what I'm doing?
Yeah. Is that the pressure of it? When you're sitting down and it's like, there's like pressure on you.
Yeah. And
Great.
I started to identify as that person. You know, people knew that I was like the artist and they were like, oh, okay. So now we're kind of understanding you a little bit more. But to me, it was always more than that. I felt connected. You know, I could like think my own thoughts really clearly as I was drawing, and I was so proud of what I made. After you know, I would just kind of like go into the zone and make something freaking fantastic. But it's just I'm just enjoying myself, and it's like I don't think it through like in a very, you know, I think this is an entrepreneur thing. Like you're just having a good time, but then like the realness of like making the stuff happen, like, you know, buying a canvas or, you know, just like opening a art studio, like all those real steps to actually get to where you want to go. Those are the hard parts.
Yeah, because they're intense. And you
Yeah.
have, like, naturally, you have self-doubt, too, right? Because it's like
Yeah.
this big thing you want to achieve, and you're like, at least for me, in my head, I'm always thinking, is this even achievable? Because I came from no one I have no entrepreneurial in my family. Like, I had a grandpa that was entrepreneurial, but he's passed away. So, and both my parents weren't. So now it's kind of something that I had to, like, self-motivate for and figure out on my own. And a lot of it's just building courage and knowing the fact that, hey, you're going to do this and you're going to mess up, and that's okay, right? I think that's been a big, I try to ignore it and I don't let it hold me back, but I think that's like definitely been a big thing on my mind when I'm doing it, is like, what happens when I do this and I fail? And everybody looks at me like, oh, I thought you were this entrepreneur. Like, you must not be this as good of an entrepreneur as you think. Like, that stuff goes in my head. And I think a lot of people battle same thing. Or even making content like this. Sometimes podcasts come a little easier to me. And it's nice because I have somebody else to do the podcast with. So, like, they feed back energy. But, you know, when you got to throw that camera up in front of your face and, like, you're talking to your phone, it's so hard for me. At first, it was extremely hard because I'm like, nobody's interested in anything I have to do in my day-to-day life. And then I just had to get past that mentality.
You know, something I think of with that is like I heard of like different actors when they have to do a takeover, like 15 times. You know, like the producer, whoever, there's like cut, and they do it again, and you have to give that same amount of energy until they're finally like, that was great. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely a skill, just like going back and coming back and like chipping away at something till you're like reach that, you know, the point where it's like you've done it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. I've done takes. When I first started doing it, when I opened my gym, right? One of my first things I wanted to do was I wanted to make this video, and it was such a silly video, but I wanted to like take the building of what it used to be, and I wanted to take I wanted just a still camera where I walk into it and I stick a for sale sign in the ground, like stab it in the ground, and then I walked out of frame and I walked back in frame and I popped open a chair and sat the chair down and just talked to like my community and said, hey, I introduced who I was, and this is what I want to do for the facility, and I think I can really do it. I think you guys are really going to like it. And I bet I did that like 50 times. Just because like I also have ADD, so I'm very in my head, and my brain's going faster than my mouth's going a lot of times. And so I would trip up, or I'd be like, no, that's not good. That's not good. And I've gotten so much better at it, but yeah, at first, yeah.
Is that like a promo or something?
Yeah, that's what I was doing. I was trying to like the gym. It was like my pre-launch for the gym. Like I was trying to promote it and let everybody know, like, hey, I just bought this building. I'm going to open this facility, because in my community, we didn't have a 24-hour gym. The gyms we did had like were extremely lacking, like no equipment in it, and I just wanted to like make something great for my community. And I don't know, and I never done it. I had never ran a business before, so it was just like so much at one time. But like hindsight now is like, I'm so glad I did it. And I could make that video and like off the cuff, you know, like I could just make that video like super fast now and not even think about it. And this was 2 years ago. July 1st is my 2-year anniversary. That was 2 years ago. It took me 50 times to make a video that was just talking about this business I wanted to do.
Introducing yourself.
Yeah, introducing myself. And then now and 2 years later, it's like, it's so much has changed. And it would have never been like that if I just never would have started. Right? Like just got out there and tried to do it. Because like you were saying about the actors, like I bet there's some when they're starting out, they have to do it over and over. And they have to keep bringing this energy. And I guarantee there's some that they just hit it. Like just smack it every time and they just roll with it. And I'm sure that's probably why they have, like why they just use professional actors over and over and over and over.
Oh
again.
yeah.
Like Adam Sandler and all those guys that he like brings on for all his Netflix. Yeah, they're great. They're funny. Like they know they're good and they probably knock out movies like crazy. So that's probably honestly why they probably just keep reusing those guys instead of trying to hire some random person that has to learn the hard way. So okay, so Juliet Rose. Is your last name, is it Juliet Rose Coffee?
Coffee.
It is coffee because it's spelled with a Y at the end. So
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was like Kofi.
No.
It is coffee.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And you're a coffee fan.
Yes.
That's pretty neat. You should definitely have a coffee company one day.
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely have thought about that.
Really? I think it'd be cool. And it already fits your name, right? Like
Yeah.
you're almost Dustin.
Yeah.
To
Well,
make coffee.
I'm brand new to this coffee last name business, so this is new for me.
Oh, you're married into it.
I just married, yeah. and
So is Rose your maiden name then?
my middle name?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my maiden name is Duntman. It's really German.
Sounds very German.
Yeah, so my ancestors came over from Germany and all that good stuff. So
Sure. Well, I'm glad you explained that because I didn't know. I kind of assumed that Rose would be your middle name, but then also I was like, I don't freaking know. I don't like to assume.
you don't know anything. Like this is all new. So you're welcome to like assume and wonder and just like be all confused.
Anyone that's listening to podcasts, like literally, like when she's saying that, like we literally didn't talk until an hour ago, probably.
Yeah.
Like you sent me a message and you're like, hey, I'm gonna be there at this time, and that was the first time we talked at all. So it was Robert that did the connecting, and then it's just so everyone that's listening, you guys are learning for the first time as well as I am too. So from what I understand though, and I mean anyone that's even listening can probably have gathered that you're an artist. Like I think like to the core, I think you're an artist. Because we were talking even before, I don't know if it's going to be in the podcast or not, but we were talking about how I want to own a building one day for the podcast, and you were talking about what was they called? A Turk?
Yurts.
Yurts. It's a Arabian yurt, and it's like this. It's a tent for like we're talking about having like an Airbnb basically on the podcast, so people that are far away can have a place to stay. And she's like, you need to get a yurt, and I'm like, what the hell is a yurt? And it's like an Arabian tent style thing, but just the way you're explaining it, just like because you're just passionate about like the design about it.
Different shit.
Yeah, you're like, man, it's just different. Everybody just builds these square boxes now, and it's just so plain and boring. And that's like, I could tell like right there, I'm like, okay, yeah, she's definitely passionate about art. And then you started talking about how like you got into art when you were younger. So like, was that your first passion you pursued? Because I know Robert's kind of filled me in on a couple other things that I'm gonna make you talk about too. But is art where it all started?
Pretty much, and my mom has always really been encouraging. When she saw something that we're skillful with, she would, we're kind of embarrassed as kids, like, shush, like, don't talk, like, just always like, wow, like, I love what you made. And mom's like, they're usually like that. But I really like.
So your mom was like very encouraging.
Yeah, she would always.
Everything.
Well, not everything, but when she sees that you're good at something,
Okay.
she just wants to. She'll build you up, and like, it's not like, a
You do
gold
something
star
wrong.
for everything.
Yeah, but the things that like she's seen that there's good potential in, she
Yeah.
definitely like hyped you up on,
Yeah.
or try
and
to at least help you pursue it more.
I always enjoyed like just being in my zone and doing like having in art classes in school, just doing whatever, and then people would be like just looking over like, whoa, everyone's just like scribbling, and it was just fun for me. It just naturally like
How old?
gravitated.
How old when you like first got into it?
Maybe like second grade.
Whoa,
I was really young.
that's very young.
Yeah.
Like, and what were you doing in second grade? Because in second grade, I was drawing stick figures.
I remember specifically being in art class, and I don't know if it's just something where like I got noticed, you know? It was like, oh, you're good at something, like
Other
cool, because
kids
I was so
notice you or a
quiet.
teacher?
My teacher and like friends, and like I remember even up to maybe 8th or 9th grade. Yeah, I was pretty like kept to myself, and I wasn't super like popular or anything. I was just more like sweet and quiet, but that was more thing where I was able to express myself, and I made like the end of the year poster, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh," because everyone played soccer
Yeah.
in my like little tiny like homeschool class or whatever. So it was just
Oh,
like,
so you were homeschooled.
yes.
Okay, well that's something that I feel like we need to talk about as well.
I was homeschooled.
I think
yeah.
that's very important. So when you were, because I don't want to skim over that, because actually I am actually really interested in homeschooling. Like, I don't have any kids, but when I was growing up, homeschooling was kind of like a weird thing. And no offense, I hope it don't take any offense to it.
No, not at all.
But it was like I just remember thinking like, okay, some of these kids, at least that I remember, were a little different. I was never like mean to them or judgmental, but I just remember like a little different. Okay.
the
And-
homeschooled kids that you met.
Yeah, and well, because okay, let's just ignore that part of it. But now the older I get, the more I start to. I've met a lot of people that are homeschooled, and it actually seems like they were way better off because they got to just kind of like skip over some of the stupid stuff that public schools not only. And I'm leaving the whole because like the whole political crap out of it, right? Like the stuff that the teachers are teaching and the stuff that the schools are pushing, like that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like some of the stuff that maybe kids did to me that made me change my thought process, because these are just a bunch of young dumb kids as well that are probably judging me, causing me to have like self-confidence issues. And I see a lot of people that are homeschooled, they didn't really get a lot of that because they weren't around so many kids, right? Like I mean, I went to school with kids that were super, super broke. I went to school with kids that their families were very wealthy. Some kids were good at sports, or super talented at this, and I fell somewhere in the middle. I wasn't rich, wasn't poor, wasn't super talented at this sport, wasn't, I was good at a little bit of everything, but wasn't really super great at anything at that time. But I felt like I got a lot of judgment passed on me, and it created a lot of self-confidence issues that I had to work through later in my life that I realized caused problems in my life. I didn't, at the time, when they were causing problems, I didn't have a clue what it was. It wasn't until I started working on myself, okay, that's not good to do. Like freaking out or I don't know.
Being worried about what people are like saying about you, or
or doing something.
yeah, making
Because
fun
I
of
think
you.
someone else is going to judge me based off of it. Not pursuing what I want to do in life, or just there was a thing I for sure, I don't know off the top of my head, but I for sure did something multiple times just because I'm like, someone else is going to judge me if I do it a different way. And yeah, I swear. And it's very interesting. My girlfriend, Ariel, she was homeschooled. So I really got to learn, and I really got to learn like a lot from her and her family. Like I just kind of pay attention. But I had Raquel and Matt Stubblefield. They were talking about homeschooling their kids, and I really started talking to more people about it. Drew McCleskey, he came on. Did you listen to his podcast by any chance? Super cool podcast if you get the chance. I mean, if you got a long drive home or something, maybe you could give it a listen. He was homeschooled, and I think his dad kind of did the same thing. I think his dad kind of realized that he was interested in business or like the entrepreneurial lifestyle, and was able to not only teach him what you got to be taught in school, but be able to give him the tools that he needs for that kind of stuff. Or like Ariel, she was able to, like if she was like in a math class, she was good at it, she could speed up through the math class knock it out. And then maybe if science, she struggled in it, she could go slow on it. And she had that, because I don't think everybody learns at the same pace. And I think that's the big part of it. I think those two. One, being able to pursue things that you are passionate about, which is like what your mom did. And also being able to, like, if you're good at it, just be able to excel really quick in it. That way, when you hit a roadblock and you need to spend some extra time, like, you're already caught up in it. Do you feel like that's how it was for you when you were homeschooled?
Yeah, I think like, yeah, I was definitely not like this really, man, some subjects I liked more than others, but there was, I think there was more grace for like, if I'm not really interested in a subject, that it wasn't like smashed over my head or anything. I know with algebra, they kind of like, okay, you're not gonna do this. Like, it's not your thing.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I needed. Because
Yeah.
they were like, force me
yeah.
to go, like, I sucked at math.
miserable.
I hated math. And it was just
God.
like, why do I have to do this? Why am I having to
tears.
break this stuff down?
Yeah.
And when am I ever going to use it? I mean,
Yeah.
I understand learning some stuff, but it's like,
Yeah.
why do I have to do like this college algebra and keep
Yeah.
pursuing past it? I mean, honestly,
It's torture.
it was torture, and it's a big reason why I didn't go to college. Like, college wasn't for me, but because I sucked at math, and I knew that I was going to have to redo all my math classes because I didn't get a college credit in high school. They wanted me to redo all my math classes, and I sucked at it. I hated doing it the first time. So it's like, why do I got to do this again? And it was just kind of like one of those things where it was another thing on my list of reasons why not to go to college. So yeah, I don't know. It's just I kind of like that, and like I kind of think that like my kids, I could see I'm kind of like fight back kind of guy. So I could kind of see my kids being that way too, like inheriting that trait from me. So I'd almost think they'd do better in life if they were able to do it. Because I feel like there was subjects that I was really good at that I feel like I would have excelled in if I just had the freedom to go. But I had to sit around and wait for these other kids to finish their homework. I'm like, I could knock all this stuff out in like, maybe a month, whenever it takes everyone else 6 months.
Right.
So I like that idea
Yeah.
of that, like being able to excel
Well,
at it.
yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't think like growing and becoming into who you are has to be a miserable experience by any means.
No,
you know?
definitely not.
It's like, you will suffer. Do this math.
So, did your mom help you in that aspect too? You said she encouraged you, but like, whenever she started seeing that you're good at art, was she like getting you more things for art, or was it kind of like she would just let you ask for it? Like what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Does it
just
make
like
sense?
accommodating me, my wishes, birthday presents or Christmas presents and stuff like that. But honestly, like how my mind was is like, I'm gonna just do this no matter what. I got in trouble for doodling on my homework and stuff like that. So I'd just do it no matter what. And
Who was
fine.
teaching you the art?
I was primarily, and that's the thing, it was like my experience. I was just enjoying. I really like drawing and like ballpoint pen, just like that could just be because I was like, that's what I usually had in like school or something,
Sure.
a pen or pencil. But yeah, I was pretty much self-taught, and then also I did have a couple art teachers like.
Where, like, you're saying self-taught as like just trial and error, or
Well-
is there like books or?
No books, but I did have like, I went to, so there's a school for homeschoolers called Co-ops. Yeah, so I had some teachers there. I wasn't like completely kept away from some kind of framework, but I had a teacher that helped. I remember like she showed me like we were drawing a cup, and I just drew the line for the top of the cup. And then she, really calmly, like really patiently came in and was like, there's actually, when you look at the cup a little bit more, there's more lines. It's not just one line. There's the lip, like there's the top of the cup, and then it goes down to the other side. And I just like, to this day, I remember her explaining to that and being like, whoa. Like,
Yeah.
because she were like slowed down to my level. And that is another thing about having less class of 5,000, like how are people learning? Like it blows my mind. But just like having that one-on-one time where that teacher could really come by and just like point out that one thing, I was like, oh, you know, it's like opened up my mind. So that was like, I did really like her as a teacher. She was amazing.
Yeah, and I'd say you got pretty lucky to have a teacher like that,
She is amazing.
right? Because it's tough to when you got a big classroom. It's tough to teach them all, right? Or you could have had a teacher that was maybe trying to teach that, but if they didn't understand art, right? Like they would have been like, "Oh, nice circle," you know, draw a line down and make it look like a cup and put a handle on the side. They could have
great, honey.
like that. Like for me, that's probably what I would have done because I was very mediocre at art. Like I could like copy. That's about all I could do. Or I guess I can mediocre is probably the best description for my art. I think if I would have to sit down. I didn't enjoy art, but I would have to sit down and really focus on it and try. And I think because I had ADD, I just could not stay focused on one certain task at a time. I think that was my big problem. Do you ever remember there was a thing called the art school? I think it was like you had to draw to get in. Did you ever see anything like that? Like it was like, man, how old are you?
I'll be 30 this year.
Okay, so you're right around my age. I had a friend, super good. He's passed away now, but his name was David May. I was really good friends with him. He was a super good artist. And his parents were trying to get him into this art school at a very young age. And they had like certain pictures that you had to draw. I wonder if you remember that. No?
I never heard of that.
No? Ariel, can you try to look that up real quick? I remember seeing it on TV. Like I remember this art school being like an ad on TV.
That's
Maybe if I
pretty
pull it up,
gnarly.
maybe you'd remember it. Did you watch much TV as a kid?
No.
No? You won't remember it. Like look up like the art school, just like maybe 90s or something. Because if you look up art school, all kinds of stuff's going to pop up.
I know.
Like type up in like 90s art school. See what comes up. I think there was like a picture of a pirate
Pirate?
that you had to draw, like because he had like a big beard, so you had to draw all the hair and everything. Or maybe like 90s art school contest, maybe.
That's pretty gnarly, though, for you to be judged by your artwork to get in or not. I mean, because your art speaks for itself. You know, if you're just like,
Well, I think it was like a contest to be able
Yeah.
to get in, like at an early age. Like there was no. I think you could, I don't know how it worked. Honestly, I don't remember.
Well-
He had a pamphlet. I remember it was like he had like this thing. It like came in the mail, and he's like, "Yeah, my parents think I'm good at doing this, so, so like this is what I have to draw for it." It could be for high school students. I don't know. Someone out there, if you ever find it, like if someone knows what I'm talking about, comment in comment below and just let us know. Because I'd like to find that again. I feel like it'd be very nostalgia for me.
I think that's cool. Like,
I thought it was pretty cool. I was envious of him because I always tried to draw, and like I said, I was like mediocre. So like for him to be able to draw at a very young age, I was like, that is talent. Like that was very impressive for me.
you just get lost in it. It's like, it's a meditation, you know? And it's like, it's something that I've honestly have put to the side. And I did get it more into the teaching side of things because I could just do the basics. And then, you know, anything that you're going to do as an adult is like way more phenomenal than a kid. So that's another thing going back to, you know, my mom accommodating. She would let me skip out on like weeks of school to go travel with an art teacher. She had created a curriculum for homeschoolers, and they did really well with it because it goes
At like
through.
what age?
I was about 16.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
high school.
Prime high school years. So I definitely appreciated that. And it was just like no question. It was like, yeah, you can go, because they would go to all different cities around America and do these workshops. And I mean, they just teach, you know, it's the elements and principles of art. Like, you know, things that are further away in the distance, they're smaller. Like things that are closer to you, they're bigger. And like to a kid, that's mind blowing. Like to a kid in like perspective, like a ladybug next to the Eiffel Tower, you know, if you draw the Eiffel Tower to be like the size of the ladybug, I mean, that's a big ladybug.
Yeah, it is. It looks like it is at least, right?
Right. And it's like all these different, they put all these principles and everything in a book and traveled around and taught it. And I got to link up with her, and you know how life works. It's like randomly met them in Kansas City. She came and lived there for a little while, but so she kind of kept the curriculum going after her husband and her had created it, and he passed away, and she kind of kept it going, and that's when I met her.
Okay. So you did that with her while you're in high school?
Pretty much, yeah.
For last 3 years of your high school?
Yeah, and then onward some, but I would travel to, a couple of summers, and
Like, what were you doing with her when you were doing it?
I would assist the classes and then help different kids and set up everything. And she had a hard time getting around a little bit, so I would help like move the supplies if we needed to make art like runs to the store, and then she started to put me up in front of the classroom, and I would help teach. Yeah,
Oh, so you're actually teaching.
yeah.
But how was that after high school when you were doing that?
It was during.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So-
you advanced pretty quick
Yeah.
from assisting to teaching.
Well, she believed in me. She was like, "Whoa, I love what you're making. I see the work that." Because when I first met her, because she had a class and she asked me to bring in my work, and she was just like gushing, you know, and just loving what I had made. And she's just really encouraging like that, anyways, to someone where she sees real talent, and like, yeah. So it was fun. And we connected, and then
How cool you found another person that was like super supportive of like helping someone pursue their dreams.
yeah,
Because like most people aren't like that. Most people, okay, I take that back. I would actually say most people actually are like that if they've followed a dream before. But you see a lot of people that are also very jealous and they don't want to see people
yeah.
surpass them. So like they try to like purposely keep them down or not like shine them in the light that they need to be shined in. And I feel like it probably helped you learn too. Like actually getting up there and actually speaking what you're doing, like putting it into words. I feel like that probably helped a ton.
It was extremely it was a lot of fun.
It was all for free though?
She would pay me a generous, like not an insane amount, you know, but it was a job pretty much too.
Yeah.
So,
It
and then
fed
she,
you at least, right?
yeah, room and board and everything, you know, and I, you know, we're a team. So
How old is this lady at this time? You're
she's
16 to 18?
she's in her 50s or 60s.
Okay. So you're traveling with this like 56-year-old lady that you barely knew basically?
I got to know her pretty quick.
Yeah, I would say. But
Yeah.
at first, was it weird at first? Just going on the road somewhere.
She needed help with a lot of things because her husband had kept the business going for so long, and then her kids were doing their own things, like pursuing different kind of careers, and so she needed help to kind of just keep this thing going. It was her livelihood too, you know, in a way.
So this is like a workshop tour, like an art
Yeah.
workshop tour.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I come along, and she had previous people kind of help her at times, but it was just a really big chunk of growing up in those teen years. And also she was really supportive.
Dude,
you
I
know?
feel like that was such a better way at 16 years old. Dude, at 16 years old, I was like getting in trouble. Like from 16 to 17, I had gotten like speeding tickets, a CNI, a felony. I had been arrested. I had like anything under the sun that you could get a ticket for. And it was all stupid, petty stuff. Dumb, stupid, petty stuff.
See, you needed a Sharon in your life to be like, stop, just stop.
I needed a purpose. Like I needed something to do. Like that's like I am a creator. I don't know if I would not consider myself an artist, but I am definitely a creator. Like that's why I love creating businesses. That's why I love the podcast and making content. Like that is what's so fulfilling. Like, it's the journey through it all. But whenever I don't have that, it's like I'm a menace to society.
Just reckless.
Yeah, I mean, like now I know better to not to do stupid stuff. Like it was just being a 16-year-old teen boy, like just being dumb. But yeah, like I am like if I get bored, it's like I gotta go find something to do, and I'm doing
Quick.
something that I shouldn't be doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if I'm working and I have something to work towards every day, like my life's so much better. But when I don't have that, that's when I start to get like sad and like I have days that I'm down and. A lot of times, all I got to do is just come home and work on something. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, I feel a lot better. I just need to do something today.
Yeah.
So I feel like you doing that at 16, it was like basically like starting work at 16.
Yeah.
And I've even said that too. I'm like, if my kid, because I used to paint cars for a living. Yeah, I painted cars. I was like like blocked on cars all the time and paint it. And I always said that was an art. Like it's not easy to do it. Like I wasn't airbrushing them, but it was something I was like interested in. And I was like, man, if my kid ever wanted to do auto body, and he was 16 years old, and he's like, Dad, I don't like school anymore. I just want to go paint cars. I was like, go paint cars then. You know, like I would make sure he gets a GED, like continues to pursue his things in life. But like, why make a kid keep going to school? I mean, to a certain point, yes. But my senior year, I did basically nothing. I took like all curriculum. Is that the right word? Curriculum activity. Like it was all like ag classes. So I was like, I took 2 hours of welding. I took a like a greenhouse class. I took just stupid classes.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, if I cared about them, like if I was actually passionate about them, yeah. But in welding class, we were hardly ever welding because I didn't have anything to weld on. Like
What?
it was just goof off stuff. Well, yeah, you got to pay for the metal, and you got to actually have something. I didn't have nothing to work on. Like I was like, I had nothing in my life at that time. Like I was into pickup trucks. That's it. So for me, it was like if I was into auto body, but there was nothing, like they weren't going to let me work on my car there. And that's what I wanted to do. Me and my friends would get off, and we would like go to each other's house, like whoever had a shop, and we'd pull a motor out of our truck and put it back in over the weekend, and we'd work on exhaust. We'd just tinkered on cars because like that was like my passion then. And I was always doing like every car I got, I was trying to do something like repaint it or fix the bumper on or do something like that.
Customize it.
Yeah, customize it of some kind. And so I think that if I at 16 years old, like if I could have just went and started a job in a body shop, I feel like I wouldn't have gotten all that trouble. I would have started making money earlier, but I would have started figuring out myself.
I think
just that much sooner. I think that's what you were able to do.
Well,
You think? Maybe?
in a way, yeah, I was able to get a job out of high school teaching pretty quickly. So, and I was able to support myself with that for a little while. So, I mean, it was
So
nice.
you're saying like 18 years old you started teaching?
It was a little later. I was about 22.
Okay. So what'd you do in the gap? You were still working for the What'd you say
So
your
you
name?
know
Sheridan?
that Sharon.
Sharon. Oh,
Sharon.
So you're working for Sharon for that
Yeah.
gap of time after high school?
Yeah, on and off. I kind of, you know how you say and you like went out and like did stupid stuff. I that kind of came a little later. I was
Okay.
just like, okay, what now? But I was still kind of like half pursuing that. I don't think I knew what I had with that necessarily, and more so when you're that age, it's like I just want to experience life. I want to make friends and
Sure. Is this really what I want to do too?
right, like. You know, as much as I really appreciate it, and I don't think she was ready to let go of the business. And like, what was I going to do? I wasn't in the mental place to just be like, oh, I'm going to make my own and copy her idea. I wasn't really thinking that. So she wasn't really like, oh, here's the business. I'm going to hand it over to you. And there wasn't that much like collaboration to go on. So it was kind of like, okay, do I just go and make my own canvases and start like the kind of rough journey. I wasn't going to go to art school. I saw a friend doing that path and I was like, that's not for me. But
Why
what
you
did
decide
I
that?
do?
Was it like the
It's
money
just
thing?
a lot of debt. And then you don't even know if you're like, it's not even guaranteed. Like you do have to like put a ton of work into you have to constantly be cultivating art. And I'm like looking for a place to live. Like, you know.
Does anyone in the art industry, at least in the art making that you were in, do they care about a degree? Like, is that something that
Some
matters?
of them do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like my friend, like she was going to a really big school in Kansas City, a great school. And she was kind of opening up to me about how much debt she was going into and how much stress she was under with like, I don't even know if I'm going to make it as an artist. And then I'm going to start selling paintings and it's not going to be even like as much as I need any time in my lifetime to cover, you know, it's just a little bit of overwhelm with the price. And I was just like, I don't know if this is really worth it for me to, I never felt that like really strong urge. Everyone urged me to go to art school, but I never felt that drive. Like I was like, I don't think that's, if I'm going to make, what's stopping me from creating art on my own, you know, was my kind of thinking.
Why do I
of
need
it.
school
Right.
for me to make art?
If anything, they would just be like, okay, make more stuff. Cause that's really what you need to be churning out, tons of work. So
I could see doing a class. Like if you're like, I want to better myself in this piece of art.
yeah.
I don't know art that well, but like if you're trying to like better yourself in this piece, just take that one class. I could see doing that, but it's like, why go? Because in art school, I'm sure it's just like any other school. They want you to still take math, science. Like they want you to get your associates on top of it all. And it's like, I don't care about any of that.
No, yeah.
When I went to school for auto body, they tried to do that to me. I'm like, no, I don't want to
So
do that.
I'm curious, like, so you did go to school for auto body then?
Okay, so I went to school. It's interesting. So I went to school. I was always in auto body. Right out of high school, I was signed up to go to Lynn Tech, which is a tech school. And I was going to do auto body there for 2 years, get my associates, and get certified in auto body.
You're like 18.
I'm 18, getting ready to graduate high school. And I was dating a girl, and her parents were like, there's no money in auto body. You shouldn't do that. And I was like, okay, what should I do? And they're like, I don't know. There's money in being an electrician. So I'm like, okay, I'll do that. I know. Bad decision. So I signed up, dropped out because like the auto body was like a selective class. Like only like 30 students could get in. So if you had to like get selected to get in, like based off of like your test scores and how early you got like signed up, everything like that. So I made that and I dropped it, which was dumb. And then I signed up for electrician school. I went for 2 days and dropped out. I like 2 days in, I was like, this is not for me.
Dumb.
Yeah, dumb. And I just dropped out. And then it was just like, okay, now what am I going to do in my life? And for basically from 18 to 20, it was just a scramble of trying to figure my life out and screwing my life up.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I was just like hanging out with friends, like drinking on the weekends. I didn't like, there was a period of time where I didn't work at all. I was just like, I was
Bumming
scrapping
around.
metal and I was bumming around trying to fix cars and flip them on the side. And I ended up going to a community college for a semester. And like a semester, I went for one semester. And then the next semester I signed up and I was like, I don't know, 3 weeks in. And I was working at factories by this point. Like I just needed money. So now I get a job at a factory, but I'm also trying to go to school because I'm like, I need money.
Right.
Period. And I had no skills and no resume other than just like I worked at Subway and I worked at like a lake resort place and just random jobs that didn't qualify me for anything in life. And so now I have no skills. So now I'm working in factories, just trying to figure things out. And I hate the factories. Like the factories are miserable. I also hate school. Like I'm going to community college just to get my associates in probably like business or something. Just because they're like, this is a good field. It sounds good. That's if you ask someone and they're going to community college, or if you ask someone what they're doing, most people will probably tell you to go in school for business. And I'm like, oh, so you don't know what you're talking. Like you don't know what you want to do, right? Because I feel like everybody's just like, well, I'll just manage a company.
Yeah,
and I'm like, yeah, you're not going to do that. You're just going to get out with an associate's degree and go work at a factory or Walmart or something like that.
It makes everyone stop talking. It's kind of like how I always saw, like, it made a lot of people, it is an uncomfortable time when you're just like growing up, you're like, okay, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing? And people are like, go to school, like do something. Like
Yeah.
we're worried about you. That's what I'd always get that. We're worried about you. And I was like, I hate that. I'm just trying to figure out who the heck I am. Like,
People should be saying, what do you want to do?
yeah,
What
or
makes you
like,
happy?
right.
I think that's like much more important than go to school, figure it out. Because then people are just getting themselves in debt and they're just miserable. Like, why not just go get a job until you figure it out? I think that's way better.
Right. You can work at a like kind of shitty job, and then do what you like on the side and the side path. I think that's what people end up doing, when they are stuck in jobs that they're reliant on financially. Like, do that younger, like, and pursue on the side those things that
You should be
are
doing
interesting.
every random thing at a young age, I feel like.
Yeah.
From 18 to 30 is when you should be taking chances,
Yeah.
right? You should be working them random jobs, or even if you want to take a couple classes, but take the classes on something that has interest to you, not something that's just, oh, well, I got to get these classes out of the way, so I'm going to take these gen eds.
Okay, I have to say this, but your girlfriend's parents, they're probably like, this guy needs to make money for our daughter. Like,
Yeah,
You
that's
know what I
exactly
mean?
what they were thinking.
Like, they're not even worried about like who you are as a person, which is interesting. They're like, come on, like get your stuff together, so we're not worried about our
Yeah,
daughter.
that's exactly
too.
what they were thinking. Because I didn't come from a successful family, so they're just like, just get a good job so you can support our daughter. I almost guarantee it. They didn't say it, but
Yeah.
and it was like one of those things that by the time I dropped out of school, we had already split up.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like one of those things where it was like, I knew it in my gut that I was doing the wrong thing. Like I was only 2 days into this semester. I was sitting in class and that's like one thing I've learned is to listen to my gut. Like my gut usually knows best. So yeah, so then I ended up working in the factories, realizing that cars are still the only thing that I like. So then I'm like, screw it, let's go back to school for auto body. And there was a Votech in Washington, Missouri, and they would let me do an excelled class because they have like partial high schoolers that go there too. So they could let me do half days as an excelled student and get in and get out in a year. So that's what I did. And would I do it again? No. But yeah, it was like one of those things.
Did you hate it as much as the factory or the electrician?
No, it was just very minimal. Like for the money that I had to pay in the year of my life that I wasted, I found out that when it comes to like any type of like blue collar, like hands-on job, as long as you're willing to work for base pay, anyone will hire you.
Facts.
Right? Like if you want to be an electrician, if you want to be a plumber, if you want to be an auto body mechanic, go in and wash cars. Tell them that you want to paint cars one day, but tell them that you're willing to wash cars. Tell them that you'll work for $10 an hour and that if a panel needs sanded on the side, you'll do that. Like most of them will hire what's called a porter, so like a base level. And I could have started out as a porter and worked my way up a lot faster. But
Starting earlier.
just getting in and starting earlier. Same thing about like starting at 16, doing auto body at 16. Like if I had somebody in my life that knew that, they could have been like, hey Ryan, you don't need to go to school for all this stuff. If you like auto body, we'll go talk to a shop this weekend. Maybe you can push a broom after school. And then you can just push a broom. And a lot of kids do that. They start out pushing a broom, and then next thing they know, they're sanding a panel, and then next thing they know, they're blocking on a panel, and then 10 years later, they're leading a body shop, or starting their own body shop. So I had to learn it the hard way just because I didn't have anyone in it. But that's the one thing I don't regret from it, is that I got to learn all this stuff. Like if somebody would have handed it all to me, I probably wouldn't have appreciated it as much. So I will say, like, that's been the one good thing. And another good thing about me is that I'm just always hungry. So I'm always like, okay, let's go to the next thing. Let's go to the next thing. I didn't get stuck where I was at for too long. And I think that's very important for a lot of people to learn too. Because I think we talked about it a little bit before, like to always pursue new things in life.
Yeah,
Like,
keep
because
yourself
that's-
interested and engaged.
Yeah, keep life interesting, right? Because someone that does the same thing every day, their life's probably getting miserable. Like they're probably getting bored. They might not want to admit it, but they're probably getting bored with what they're doing in life.
Yeah.
So that's very important. So yeah, that's what I did. And look at me now, I'm not even in a body shop at all. So, but back to you. So you were doing this with Sharon?
Sharon, yeah.
Sharon?
Yes.
And then you said you started teaching.
Yeah, well, I worked as a cashier for a little bit. I walked in, the first place I walked in, I was like, it was called Fresh Grill. And it was kind of like an experiment restaurant, lunch kind of place that had opened up. And my friend had worked there, and I walked in, I was like, hey, you guys hiring? And of course, they're like, come on, like, you're pretty. We'll stick you up at the front and have you take people's orders. And I worked there for about a year, but that was the first time I actually got like really consistent pay. And because the teaching or the art, like traveling, I wasn't at the point where I was ready to teach it quite yet, or make a leap and start like a business and all that stuff. But it wasn't consistent. Whereas when I started getting that regular paycheck and I started making friends and I'm like pretty much going and hanging out, having a great time, taking people's orders, it is a high, taking like a whole line of orders and like getting people going through the business. But I did that.
So you were a cashier?
Yeah.
Not a waitress?
No, I would take people's plates and people would tip me. And I really enjoyed myself like working there. And
Was it just working with the people? That was so fun.
yeah, they're all like smoking weed, and that's kind of a love language too for me.
What kind of business was this?
It was a food place.
But they were all smoking pot?
Well, yeah, kind of, and yeah,
Like the people that were working or the people that are coming in there?
the cooks and stuff.
Oh,
They're
okay.
fun. They're all
Okay.
different, like people and personalities, and like it was fun for me to just like get to know people a little bit and get in a routine of like actually doing like consistent work. And then that was the first time I was slowly starting to get better at something. And then I remember when the cooks or the people that were managers were asking me for help with the register, that was like, oh, I think I've gotten pretty good at this, just like slamming like orders through. And so that was pretty fun. I enjoyed that for a while. And then they didn't succeed. A lot of restaurants don't, but
It's tough business being.
yeah, it is. And I was relying on the money at that point because I had gotten an apartment. I was like, well, shit, like, because they laid us off and like gave us like a tiny little check and we're like, good luck, we're sorry. And yeah, I think that at that point I did kind of, I walked into a diner. That was miserable. I mean, I was getting paid $3 to like slave over these people that would then also give me $3. And then it was just like,
Oh, so you're waitressing now.
Oh,
at
it's-
this diner.
oh my God. It was like so
Terrible.
stressful to maybe get $4,
Yeah.
for like 30 minutes of work.
Imagine how different life would have been if you would have started out the diner rather than the other place you worked at.
I
It
mean,
could have ruined it for you.
it could have.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of old crusty people working at the diner. I mean, just miserable. And he's like trying to find stuff for me to do when it was slow. And I was like, there's few things more miserable than trying to work at a diner when it's slow, like, or any restaurant for that matter. You're just like bored.
Just trying to find busy work sucks.
Oh, it was awful. I was like, I'm not even making a difference in this place. Like, I needed to feel like I had some purpose,
Sure.
But I'm trying to think what I did after that. It's just like I was at my apartment and then I was struggling. It was like we were only there for like 6 months, me and my
Like you
friend.
stayed at the diner?
I was working at the diner just to like make a couple bucks to make rent because my rent was like $500, like shared with my friend. And it was like, so I was
Pretty
trying.
cheap.
Yeah, but I was like, I couldn't even come up with that. I'm like, where do I
Okay.
want to work? How do I get a job? Who's going to hire me? It was like this kind of like, this fear of like, I didn't know if I would be accepted. I had tons of self-conscious issues, like very, very insecure. Like,
What do you mean you didn't feel like you'd be accepted though?
because I didn't have any experience serving, like
Oh, okay.
really before, except
You're
maybe
saying
the
you're,
diner.
you're trying to get at like hired on at other waitressing.
Yeah, I was trying to
places.
find because I knew I could just get in there and they would put me they would put me on the floor probably and and yeah, that was stressful because it was like it was just I don't even know. I think I just stopped working at that point. I moved back in with my parents, kind of like I moved out. I was like soaring and then it just crashed and burned and it's like awkward, it's like those things, especially early in life, especially when you're not doing your traditional route. It's like I just felt like I failed in a way and I was really like not sure with where I was going or what I was doing really in any way, and at that time, since with Sharon, it was more like she had an image to uphold with, being in the more conservative homeschool community. And it was like, I was going, I want to smoke weed. I want to like drink beer and hang out with people that are different, not this strict conservative community that I had been grown up in. So, she was my mom. I forgive my mom but she told Sharon to stop working with me. She was like, she's being bad. She's going to see guys that she doesn't really know. Like I was, I wanted to explore and like see what life was about.
Live.
Yeah, and if I had an interest for a guy, like I wanted to hang out with him and like see where it would go. And I met someone and I moved in with him and I felt like a lot of acceptance from his family and their like I felt like I wasn't there. I was being pushed to be something there, whereas my parents were kind of like really well-meaning and just kind of, what are you doing, And
Trying to get you to figure something out.
yeah, so when I moved in with him, I felt like I could just relax a little bit, and I like taking the pressure off because I felt like I couldn't really think about who I wanted to be or what I wanted to do, and there was like so much pressure to like just figure something out, which I probably should have. I probably should have gotten a different job, and I did have a car, so it's like, yeah. And then
Yeah, what'd you do?
I got pregnant.
Okay.
So yeah, that was a very conscious decision. I was like, well, I think I want to have kids starting young, so I'm just gonna do this, and I think I like him, And I was like, I don't think it's gonna work out. I don't think this is the best choice, but I'm gonna do it. And I think there's something to be said for that because there are a lot of girls and women that you don't have like a clear direction. You're not super empowered. I didn't feel like I didn't know what I was doing, anymore. And it's like, I just wanted to feel accepted and needed. And that's what I found with him. Like, he brought me in and I didn't have to pay rent or be at my parents' house where they were like, what are you doing? And so I could stay with them. And even then they were just like, what are you doing dating this girl? Like, because we had dated before and it didn't work out. But yeah, so I was like, I'm going to go for it. I had actually gone to Colombia for a week shortly before I did get pregnant. And then I had trained for like a door-to-door sales job. Mm-hmm. And that was another thing. It was like, the guy was really encouraging. He's like, you could do this. You could sell this out. It was CenturyLink.
Okay. Yeah. So you're selling internet.
Yeah.
Right?
I do not give two flying fucks about internet. Like, or people's trying to talk them out of the service they have. If someone has a service that's working good for them, like, let them just keep it. Just let them, like, please. Like, I watched my friend who was trying to get me into the business, like, talk this poor, like, old, like, housewife that's just, like, tipsy. Like, she's like, oh, yeah, I'll sign up for it because he's just there, And he was making great money. He was doing great. But I was like, I don't feel any meaning in this at all. It doesn't mean anything to me. I don't want to go around in, like, 90-degree weather, like, bothering people,
I feel like door-to-door sales is, like, the hardest sales to do, too.
They are so strong. I saw them on our street. They're zipping around on these like little scooter things, and they're ruthless.
I can't believe people actually make money doing it, but clearly they do.
My friend did really well.
Because people are still doing it. I had a guy on here that talked about how he was Jason Crow. He actually sells, he's the financial advisor for Edward Jones in Owensville now. But he came on. He said one of his first jobs was door-to-door sales, and he was selling gutter services, like gutter cleanings, for a company. But it was like they were like a package company, or like he worked for a company that like hired on multiple companies. So basically, he had like so many gutter cleanings. He had to walk up and act like they were working down the road, and they're like, "Hey, while we're in the area, if you want a gutter cleaning, we're going to be in the area. So here's a coupon for 50% off." Well, when he ran out of those, he was supposed to sell Pizza World coupons. so he was pushing pizza coupons and gutter cleanings. And he said that he showed up to a house one time. And this is what made him quit. But he showed up to a house, tried to sell a gutter cleaning, and the guy cussed him out and said, "Get off my property! I'm calling the cops." And he's like, "Yeah, no problem, man." And the guy like ran him off. Well, he said he got turned around in a subdivision in the city. And now he's out of these gutter cleaning, so he's got this pizza coupon, and he showed up and he's like, "Hey, it's Jason with Pizza World," and then the guy opened the door and he said he just looked at him and took off running. He's like, "I will never do that again." He's like, it was. He said he called in the next day and quit. He said it was crazy. So
that's terrifying.
Yeah, it's insane.
But can you imagine being the guy at the door and you're just like, what the hell? Like now you're back with pizza coupons?
Pizza World coupons, yeah. Yeah. So he's like, I had to quit after that. He's like, it was the craziest thing ever. He said the guy like literally chased him off his property.
I feel like that when people come to my door to sell me
Run
stuff.
them off like that?
I'm like, I'll have a conversation with you, but I'm not buying anything from you. I'm a little nicer about it, but they're just coming for my money. They don't actually, and I don't really want that stuff.
Yeah.
But they'll try to talk you into it because that's their job. And it's like,
nothing makes me want something less than someone being pushy on me.
Right.
Like how you were saying, like how if you showed up and you're like, "Hey, I'm selling CenturyLink," and then I was like, "I have a great internet provider," and you're like, "Okay, well here's a coupon. If you ever change your mind, let me know. Give me a call." I can respect that, but I have a company it's called like the Gym Lord podcast or Gym Lord something. Alex Hermondi. You know what I'm talking about? The big beard dude.
Alex Hermoni?
Hermoni. He started it.
He's such a character.
I do not like this guy.
You hate him?
I don't like him. And I did a podcast. It was a gimmick. It was this big sales gimmick where He started like this gym launch program, and now they put in like gym. It's like the Gym Lord podcast. It's under Gym Launch, and basically they're like, yeah, we want to just talk to gyms and see how they're being so successful. For like the past year, I get like weekly calls from them saying, hey, would you like our gym launch program in your gym? We have people interested, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, like they're trying to like just take a cut off the classes. Like they're trying to get me to start a class and they bring in customers and get a cut off of it. But, that's fine. It's an idea, but I told them no, and they call me back all the time, probably once a week. And it's a new number every time.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy. And like they'll have like a number out of St. Louis, so it's like a familiar number. And I usually answer the phone unless it like legit looks like a scam.
Right.
Like 888-123, something weird like that. If it's like a 314, like an area code that I know, I'll answer the phone. And yeah, and it's like, hey, this is John from Gym Lord. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't want your class, man. So, and I get it all the time.
So sick.
It's crazy. And it, like I said, like if somebody would have just left me a business card and said, hey, if you're ever interested, hit me up.
It's your initiative.
Huh?
It's your initiative.
Yeah, I got to want it. You know, like someone
Yeah.
that just beats it down my throat. I'm like, I'm not going to buy this thing just because you're annoying. Like just because you annoy the crap out of me, I'm not going to buy this thing.
Exactly.
That's just how I am. So, okay. So what'd you end up doing? You had a kid.
Yeah, so I was like, I don't want to go door to door doing this. Like, that was my adventure, going out and be like, I'm going to get a big girl job, And I was like, not for me. And then again, I didn't really have a bunch of self-confidence to just like walk up to a bunch of places. And like, I didn't know what I was super interested. I interviewed at this place where you sit at the front and you paint a picture with all the people in the class. I was like, I've been doing that. I could definitely do that. I was pretty pregnant at this time, but I was like, I need a job. Or I knew that I was pregnant at that time. I was like, well, I need to do this. So, but after doing the classes with Sharon, where it was just like so much creativity, so much fun, it was her own business. It wasn't like this strict, that's how I feel about her. It should be fun. It should be self-expressive. It's like sitting at the front of this class, it was like, okay, everyone do this exact thing, which there are a lot of people when they're not super confident in art, they need to do that exact thing. But it was not fun for me. It wasn't the kind of atmosphere that I was
what was
used
this
to.
again?
It was kind of like sip and paint, or have you heard of those wine and paint things?
Yeah.
And I was just like, I think when I was interviewing with, she could tell that I was just like, this is boring, just kind of like, okay, now draw this line. We're not talking about how exciting it is, how fun. You're supposed to just like trying to hype people up, and I interviewed for that and I didn't get it, but I was just kind of like, yeah, I ended up working at a daycare.
Okay.
Yeah, like a preschool daycare, and I had been teaching kids up to that point of like 6-year-olds, and so I was like, I know how to work with kids, and my boyfriend's at the time mom, she worked there. I think she was going to work there too. We were both kind of applying, and they're like, yeah, you can go in with the 2-year-old's room. So, because 2-year-olds are nothing like 6-year-olds, just by the way.
It's just crying babies all the time.
It was insane.
Yeah, I heard it's very stressful. I've known some people that have done some stuff like that, and they're like, they said they had to walk outside and cry because they were so stressed out. And they're like, I just need time.
Me and the other girl in there, we were like, we would yell. We were screaming. We were like,
Yeah.
go, okay, guys. Like, my voice would be gone at the end of the day because I'm trying to be exciting. I'm trying to not get mad at the kid. He keeps running around and like disrupting the whole class because there's always that one kid that's just like so bad. Like so bad. Mm-hmm. And all these the good kids that like do what they're supposed to, But it was just like, oh my gosh, like I was like, yelling. It was awful. But I worked there for about 8 months, and that was great, like parenting practice.
I feel like so. So you did that before you actually had your kid?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
pregnant, and I worked there, and it was really nice of them and to accommodate me, And I did fall. Man, I fell in love with some of the kids too. Just like they would never leave my side, like
Sure.
my best friends. And so I did enjoy the time I had there. And yeah, I quit the day I had my kid. So
Yeah, I'm sure pay versus stress level just isn't worth it though.
It was like a lot of hours, really long hours, but it was nice to finally get into a routine. And I think that's what I really needed. And especially like creative people and like free birds, you need to have regularity of some kind in your life. And I think that was something that I really flourished in. And that was good because I was pregnant too. So that was good.
It's teaching.
Yeah, and I was able to buy a phone and take care of some things. We tried to save up for a place to live, kind of, and I didn't really have any money management skills, so that wasn't too good because it's like I just got an $800 check. I don't know, it just
Sure.
went to this and that. So that's
I would say a traditional young kid's mindset. Get some money. You already have a way to spend it all. It's gone pretty quick.
oh my gosh, like the phone was $400, $500, like just, and I loved it, but it was just like I just got in the habit of spending the money just like I made it, you know. So, but yeah, I wanted to work with my son and I wanted to have him with me because I really strongly believed, you know, don't send him off. And it's not like I could pay for a babysitter at this point. If I was going to go and stay at the daycare and work there and have my son there, I would even out. Like, there wouldn't make anything. I would just be hanging out there all day, taking care of a bunch of other people's kids. And yeah, I would still be with my kid. I was like, well, I'm not doing that. So I got online, and this is when I really first started to pursue actually like, okay, this is what I want. I'm going to go for it. I want to be with my kid, and then I want to also be able to make money while I'm doing this. And so, and that's when I first experienced like jobs coming to me where it was like, someone called me and was like, oh, my friend's looking for someone to keep her kid at their house. So I did that, and I would keep people's kids at their houses, and it actually was kind of cool. Like
You start your own daycare.
well, I was nannying, you know,
Oh, okay.
on my own.
Okay.
But that was my first, like, kind of more independent. Like, I went out and I sought out this situation that I knew that I wanted for me.
Yeah.
So I think there's something to be noted with that. You know, it's like you need to be focused and actually like going for something.
But unless you
So-
go out and try it, you know, because a lot of people think about it and they're like, I would like that. And it's like, okay, well, go try that.
Yeah.
Like if you think that might work for you, go try it. And if it
Yeah.
doesn't, you can quit. But
Yeah.
if they never try it, then they never figure it out.
Yeah.
So you did that, and then you were able to watch your own kid.
Yeah. And be with him.
Uh-huh.
And that meant a lot to me. You know, that was super special. And then around the time I was doing that, I got a call from a girl. She had started her own kind of homeschool co-op in our town, and she was looking for kind of like a mom's helper at home too. So that was another opportunity that came to me. So I would go to her house and I would help clean up and help her like tidy things at her house. And then there was one day there, and I could have my son with me. And I remember being really frustrated because it was like they were taking care of my kid while I was cleaning their house, and then I could hear him crying, and like I would be cleaning up their shit, and it was just like, this is weird. Like, so it was a little bit where I was like, I don't know if this is working out too good. But there was one time when we were all sitting around the table, and they were working on some art projects, and like I started helping them and like instructing them, and the kids were really enjoying it. And it was just like all this memory of like all this work that I had put into this field was just like flowing out, and like the kids loved it, of course. And I think that she saw that and was like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah, I taught look this stuff, you know, all through high school. And she called me the couple days later or a few weeks or whatever it was, and was like, hey, we're looking for an art teacher at my school that I have. And she was like, I was wondering if you'd be interested in being our art teacher. And I was 23. So she's like, you're going to be pretty young, but I think it'd be good for the kids to have like a younger teacher, you know, someone that's a little bit more relatable. It was for the like 4 to 6 years old kind of range. And so I was like, well, yeah, like I needed to work. And she was like, your son can be in the daycare that's down the corner in the other room. So it's free childcare along with the package, you know, or I think I gave them a few dollars, but yeah, that was 2 days a week. And I had to kind of make up a curriculum for it. And it was a small school, but they were pretty organized too. So that's something with homeschools, like if they're organized, you know. And they were doing really good that year. And then when I came in, that was honestly one of the most fun jobs that I ever had, was walking in that classroom, having like 14 kids, 16 kids, like know my name, like so excited to see me. Like I'm doing the stuff that I was enjoying doing that I knew how to do anyways. and it was a lot of fun. Like I really, really enjoyed it. I felt like I had come into my own kind of and what I was good at doing. And I just felt like I was pouring out so much love on them, on all these kids, because kids just want attention. They just want like to be acknowledged. And I learned really quickly, things like classroom management, like the kids that are acting crazy and being bad. You just can't give them all the attention that they want. You just kind of have to like know that they're there and kind of like try to monitor the situation, not let them get too loud and crazy. But it was a good year for me too. I think at that point, me and my kid's dad had broken up, and I was on my own, and I was able to support myself by doing that.
And you're finally doing something that like you felt like fulfilled from too, right?
Yeah,
Like, that had to be like a very good feeling
it was.
to come from like waitressing, doing the sales thing for a very short stint, and like just like going through all these different phases where like probably life wasn't that fulfilling for a while, and then all of a sudden now you've come back to art,
Oh my gosh.
and you're like, man, I love this. Like this is like what I really
was
want to do.
So much fun. Like it was so and like the kids are just it's you have to think about it. It's like crazy with school because these are humans. Like it's not just like I don't know. It's just like they gave me so much love too, and I was giving it back. It was just such a warm, loving like atmosphere. And
Did you ever get to teach any older kids? Like, did it ever?
that's what killed it for me because I was having such a good time and I felt so much freedom, but I needed to build a structure, really know exactly where I was going with teaching, if I was going to stay in it, because I didn't know. I was just kind of enjoying the moment, and I didn't have a clear idea. And I think I slowly started to taper off because then it became like, okay, now you have to really focus and get your lessons plans in order. You need to focus and really, are you going to pursue this as a career? Like really get into it. And
What
then
tapered off?
like kind of my interest in the whole thing. Cause then it became like, everyone's against me. I felt like, cause all the people are like, oh, we got to clean up this huge mess. I'm having a blast. The kids are having a blast, but it's like, is it sustainable though?
'Cause the classroom that you were in was probably a shared classroom.
It was. They rented out a church. So everything has to be completely spotless. You can't have paint anywhere.
So the other teachers are like,
Yeah, they
"Freaking
come.
Juliet, she's leaving a mess for me again. We got to clean all this crap up." And then, all these kids are all hyped up and they're probably all messy and stuff. So you felt like all the teachers that were there kind of like,
There was, I think, a little bit of jealousy. Like, of course, I'm going on record saying it, but like everyone, like I was the new kid, like the cool kid on the block, and I think like I was enjoying like all the attention too of just
Sure.
like.
and you were
being the-
young too. Nobody wants to
Yeah.
see some young girl anyone young thriving when they're probably much older and they're like,
Set in their way.
what is this girl doing? She's so happy, and like enjoying life. Like that's not fair. Like I see that kind of crap all the time.
I felt that. I felt like kind of like people come to my class and like yell at get stern with the kids. I was like, we don't have to do that here. You just like, you redirect the energy into what we're actually focusing on. And then you just kind of like, don't highlight the bad behaviors. I think that's like something that I've learned with, parenting is like, the more you hype up the bad behaviors with, anybody, you're just engaging with that now. So it's like,
You're just fueling the fire.
exactly. So I was really learning an intense way and just naturally just fueling the good energy in the classroom. So it was like electrified. And I felt like, yeah, it was like, I didn't really have a lot of instruction on where I was going to go with that. But I did end up doing like the high schoolers and I just kind of like, yeah, I think I tried to teach the kids, but it was one of those things where I kind of felt like I was in a system, where there had to be, it wasn't the freedom of the workshops, like where it's,
Like, was there a curriculum that you had to follow?
I was kind of creating it myself as I was going. And I just don't think it was like sustainable, really, what I was doing. And then when
Why
it got
not?
it,
Like, what was not sustainable about it?
I think like, because I started questioning everything in life. I was like, I didn't know what I was doing.
So
and
it
I
was you that wasn't sustainable.
I started feeling like a lot of anxiety, like And it started coming in like, what are you doing with your life? You're a single mom now. Like, I couldn't hold down a guy. I couldn't find like I was like, I want like a family unit, but I don't know how to track the right man for me. Cause like, yeah, I'll get like men interested. It was just like, you're wasting my time. Like my personal life was crumbling. So, and then I felt like I started to bring some of that into the classroom, and it just kind of like all kind of like melted down from there because I really wanted like, I want my, you really do. Because at the time when I was first starting, I felt like really solidified. I was like, I'm really proud of myself. I worked really hard to be a single mom and supporting myself, and I was really proud of myself. But it was kind of like, what now? You know, and I wasn't like meeting
Like what we were saying earlier, you got to keep growing.
Exactly. And I didn't feel like I was succeeding, and I kind of like, yeah, I just,
So what'd you do? Quit?
yeah, I had to. Yeah, because I didn't have that energy in the classroom. I wasn't able to bring it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, but those are things I didn't understand. I didn't understand that I needed to be right within myself. And that was where my energy came from. Is like me being proud of who I am and like what I'm doing in my personal life and like being able to give that like security maybe, you know, to the kids and like, I know this is what I'm doing. And like, I didn't have that clear vision, you know?
I feel like when you're more fulfilled, it brings more happiness to you, and that's where a lot of energy comes too.
Yeah.
Like when you're just happy, like you're in a better mood, and you're more optimistic, and you're like just got that go getter attitude. Versus like if you're doing something you hate and you're miserable,
Yeah.
like it just drags you down too. Where you're just not happy every day, and you're like just kind of slumming, and people can feel that energy too.
Yeah.
Like people know when someone's not happy. At least I do.
Yeah.
I can like when someone else is not happy, it's like radiating off of them, and
I started,
like-
yeah.
yeah.
Well, it
Sorry.
was like, no, it's okay. It was just like little trickles of just like, what am I doing with my life? Just started to like slowly filter into the classroom. It was like, yeah, I think it could work both ways. Either you're doing something that's not super fulfilling or you're not super fulfilled on your own. And it's like, I started to see that affecting the kids where they're looking at me like, you're not the person you were. You know, and it was like I was confused. So I kind of did have to draw back, and I did stay teaching for a little while, and the kids still loved me, and I still had a place there. But I really needed to explore like more what I really was like, what it was, the questions that were like, you know, coming at me all the time, like, and yeah. So
That's honestly like a big portion of where I'm at like right now.
Yeah.
Because like when I started my gym, it was the best thing ever. I was so happy. I was able to put all this energy in, and now it's like I got it to a point where I really like it. I'm happy with it, but I need more fulfillment from it, and it's just not there because I can't keep growing it. And so yeah, that's where where I'm at right now is like it's hard to tell my members that I still love every one of you guys. I still love this place. I want to. It's since it's a business, I'm able to keep it standing, hire someone in place to be able to run it, but I need to go out and do something else for my own well-being. Like, because I'm at a point now where it's like, yeah, a lot of days I'm not like fully fulfilled. I'm like,
Yeah.
I got to be doing something. So that's where like the new product comes in line.
yeah. Well, your members will see that you're pursuing things that you're doing for yourself, you know, and that's going to keep them energized. It's not like you have to be physically in the gym. Have you heard of Lions Not Sheep guy?
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
But there is a certain guy for that.
Yeah, it's like he does a
You
gym.
know who it is?
I follow him on Instagram, but I think there's a bunch of guys like in your kind of position. He's
I've definitely heard of it before.
Oh, he's so cool.
Is that him?
Yeah. I don't even know his name, but
Can you look it up? Can you look the guy up? Like his name?
he started an apparel company. But
Yeah,
that was
that's what-
basically
that's
what
what
he's
it is.
saying.
Sean Whalen?
Yeah.
Okay. But what were you saying? Sorry.
He has a gym, I'm pretty sure. And there's a group of guys that I started following just like, yeah. I'm pretty sure he owns a gym. But that's kind of like where that reminds me of.
Sure. Yeah, I can totally see that. And I still love the gym myself.
Yeah.
Like I said, like I still love going in. I still love talking to the people. But there's a portion of me that loves growing,
Yeah.
and I can't do it anymore because of the gym. Is just like I can only grow so big. My community won't support. I can't build a basketball court on it. I can't keep adding on to it because there's just not enough people in my community. So it's like one of those things where it's like, hey, it's time to pivot.
Yeah.
You know, and I just know it now. That's why.
That's
why I
good
have-
that you know that.
And I think I have clarity for that because I listen to a lot of podcasts and I listen to people that have pursued their dreams in life, and I've read a lot of books where like people talk about, yeah, if they didn't pursue these dreams, or that the people that didn't pursue their dreams, how miserable they are because they didn't pursue them. And I've just kind of learned like, hey, like that's kind of part of life. Like,
gotta move
Life is
on.
growing.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it is. Okay, so you quit, and where'd you go from there?
What did I do? Oh, I started working for my sister at cleaning. She had a cleaning business
Okay.
that she had bought from one of her friends. That
And from what I understand, you have a cleaning business now, right?
yeah,
So is that connected? Is that reason why, or is that two totally different things?
that's a whole story because I started working for her, for my sister. She's 6 years older than me, and we make a great team. I really enjoyed working with her. You know, I got to bond with my sister in a way that I never had before. And she had been busting her ass in that business already. You know, a lot of my family members are really kind of do it yourself, like figure it out and build your own thing kind of thing. So she had pursued that and she had done pretty well. And so she kind of let me just go along with her. You know, I just needed to work, you know. And I think I started like, I was really into the cleans. Like I started using it as kind of like, I wanted to focus on the work that I was doing, and I wanted to be really good at what I was doing. And I was also kind of meditating. So kind of, I realized I felt really good when I was fully into what I was doing and I was really engaged. You know, the self-talk was good and my head was good, in a good place. And I felt like I learned a lot of really practical lessons in cleaning, just because I was going in and you're doing kind of monotonous work, but you can get better at it. You can be faster. And that was kind of where she had led me in the direction, was like, work quickly, but work good. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, shit, now I gotta, you know, figure out how to bring these two together, because I would just work really slow. And she was always like, come on, Juliet, come on, hurry, we gotta get out of this house. Like, we've been here, you're taking forever. So she was always pushing me. And
When someone's like that, do you push back? At least at first? Or is that like an offensive thing?
it was good because I did need to like get better and like faster, more skilled at what I was doing. And I think that naturally comes with time. But I had to like get over that because that was really annoying to me.
I feel like a lot of people hate that. Like it's
I
like
did.
criticism.
I
right?
did
Like,
hate it.
Yeah.
It was I hated it so much.
At the time. But then
At the
like
time.
once you have to like go through it, you're like, oh, okay, I was slow.
I was, and it was her business. You know what I mean? It was her baby. It was the thing that she was doing, and I needed to remember my place because I kind of got like arrogant, I think, because I knew I was doing good work, and I knew that like I was like more of a personality. She's more like put your nose to the grindstone kind of person. And so I think I was trying to outshine her, and that was like really obnoxious of me. Mm-hmm. And then I would try to give her advice. It's like, looking back, I didn't have any place to give her advice. It wasn't my business. You know, I was experienced, like she was having me like, I wanted to be like the iron, you know, sharpening iron. Like, hey, you know, if you're going to have me train people, like you need to pay me more for that. So, but then little arguments would come up, and, you know, a place that was normally like enjoyable was just kind of turning a little bit, to me. It was just like, I don't know. I don't want to jeopardize my relationship with my sister and like really be working out these things on jobs. And like, it just kind of like the relational kind of part of it got a little iffy for me. And there was too many times where she's calling me to get out of bed in the morning, you know, like, cause it was like her thing, and she wanted to keep it going. She wanted to help me out. But I at times I would put in the energy and the work to like really show up and shine and be amazing and really help her out. And it did feel good, you know, to like really be a great employee for her and to help her business go. And she did end up she got pregnant and had her first child, and I was able to keep her business going. And I had a friend come and help me and work with me. And that was like a first, like kind of like bringing people along to work with me and helping train them a little bit. And I would listen to her annoying music, and I was like, okay, don't say anything. Just let her be her own person. So there was a lot of lessons that I learned in that as well.
Yeah, some leadership.
Yes.
Right? Like some.
Yes,
That's
just-
like
right.
it's like being a leader,
Right.
like a boss
Yes.
stance. Like, because you were a leader when you were a teacher, but it was a totally different thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because
For
at
kids,
that
yeah.
point, you're a leader, but you're a teacher. You got to teach these kids. But at this other point, now it's like, because that's a totally, they do kind of go hand in hand, right? They're very similar, but also at the same time, like I feel like you can be more understanding. When with kids, you have to be more understanding. Like when you're teaching someone, you have to be more understanding and more patient with them. But when it comes to like teaching someone as a leader, there's a way of teaching them without, but also not like having to hold their hand. Like you kind of just like you tell them what to do, or you tell them what they're doing wrong, but it's not like holding their hand to it. It's like,
Yeah.
this is how you do it. Do it. I'll let you know when you're wrong. Is that how you did it? I'm not
Yeah.
a good teacher.
No, it was really subtle. It is super subtle.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to come in, smack them over the head, be like, "You're doing this wrong," like
Yeah.
like some Gordon Ramsay stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like I never wanted to be that person.
Makes a good television, but not for good friendship.
Right, or a work environment that's like
Yeah.
actually like helping you. And what was interesting is like it is a skill to learn how to come alongside it. And I think I had people show me that before, where it's like really gently being like, I remember the first time I polished I did the bathroom. Okay, go clean the bathroom. And I did the bathroom. She looks over it and she's like, "Did you wipe down the chrome at all?" And I was like, "No." You know, and she just showing me little tips like and tricks and like it is coming alongside someone and gently showing them how they could do it better. You have to polish the chrome. Like that's the first thing people see and the light reflects off of it. And it's like, "Oh wow, the bathroom's clean," you know? And it was really obvious. So little things like that, I did have people like show me at different times, like here and there. It wasn't constant.
Some
I
people
never
just
had that.
cannot take criticism though. Like, yeah, you ever ran into that problem? Like, I mean, I know a couple people that I've worked with where I just try to show it to them, and they just get so upset when I'm trying to talk to them. It's like, hey, I'm just trying to help. I'm not trying to be mean. Like, I'm not being mean when I'm doing it. Some people just aren't good with the criticism.
Ooh.
So that's where I've had to learn a lot through leadership, because I've had bad bosses in my past who were just straight jerks, and like they weren't leaders at all. They were just like, do this, get moving quicker, like there's money or like whatever. I remember walking into a body shop. I was very new, and I remember walking into a body shop, and like as soon as I opened the door, the guy was like, because what I would do is I'd walk in, I'd go through one building to another building, and then I would walk upstairs, I'd put my lunch away, and then I'd go down, and then you had like a clocking system. So it was like a 5-minute ordeal. I was walking in the door, and my boss met me at the door, and he's like, "What are you getting ready to do?" And I'm like, "Well, I was going to put my stuff away." You know, and so like I've had like people like that, or like I remember I was like just washing cars, like learning to wash cars, and I had missed a piece on a bumper, like a small piece that's like, I don't know, like 2 inches by like maybe a foot on the back bumper. Like when I was hand washing it, I missed it. And I guess I had like done some like little stuff like that. Nothing major. It's not like I ruined a car.
No.
But I remember I did that, and the guy came to me and he's like, "You're this close to being fired." Like I remember he looked at me, he's like, "You're this close to being fired." And I was like, I missed a piece on a bumper. Like just wipe it off real quick and move on. Like it's not that big a deal. But he was just a jerk. Like and so I've learned I never want to be that way, because I never want to make someone feel that way. Because I was making $10 an hour. Started out, I was probably my first month or two in a professional body shop, so it was very, very green into the whole field, and just being in a body shop and like seeing how it works was all still really new to me.
Power play.
And yeah, and he was just like, he just treated me like that. I just remember how how it was just like very belittling to feel like that. Like I was like, because I didn't want to get fired. You know, I was trying, like my goal was to build experience. That's all I wanted in a body shop. And here I am about to get fired because I missed a spot on a bumper.
Is that the first time you had heard him say that?
On the car cleaning, yeah. Yeah.
But that makes you wonder. It's like, how many times before did you notice something that I was doing wrong, you know, and not say anything?
No, it was like I would do, it wasn't like washing a car. It'd maybe be like, because I was doing a little bit of body work too at the time, like just like light stuff, like sanding it down. And like if it wasn't like, because like when it comes to body work, like it gets to be like the waves in the paint. Like if you ever look down like a body panel, like down the side, and if you don't block it out, and you have to like block it so fine that you can't look at it and see it. You have to close. Like I remember like closing my eyes and I looked to the side and I would like run my hand across it, and that's the only way you could feel like a wave. Well, I didn't really know how to like feel it yet, and I remember like I'd mess it up, and like they would always get pissed and like it's not good enough, and like just like so tough on me, and and I hated it. Now, did it work? I did learn a lot from it, and like I got better. But I got better because I wanted to get better. But also at the same time, like they could have handled it differently. Like like that time, like
Yeah.
instead of like that wasn't a firing offense. Like they could have just been like, Ryan, this doesn't look good when this is if you don't look it over real good. But it was also part of pressure too. Like they were like everything was go go go. Like I said, like I was walking in the door and like, what are you getting ready to do? They were like that all day long. So it's like, hey, you need to get this car done because we got something else going on. Like, and so there was always pressure there. I remember that too. So I bet that was part of the reason why. Like if they were just like, okay, you get 30 minutes to wash this car, make sure it's done, I maybe wouldn't have missed it. So it was still part of that, like the way they treated me kind of thing. So I try to make sure that I never want to make someone feel that way. Because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, like whoever is working for me, I have to take a step back and always remember that they don't have to work for me. And that I should appreciate the fact that someone is taking they're giving up time in their life to come work for me. So I always got to make sure, like, that's like something I always try to reflect on. It's like, okay,
Yes.
give them a break. Tell them, like, sometimes I tell them, they don't take it well. And it's like, hey, we got to do this. This is policy, or this is how the business runs. So like, this is what we got to do. So that's kind of something I've learned through it. So with you working for your sister, is that what's made you start your business? Like, did you take it and start your own immediately after that? Or was it years later?
I quit
Because I know you've done some other things too.
serving again.
Well, weren't you doing some modeling for a while? When did that come?
Yeah. Well, oh my gosh, that's a whole nother thing. Yeah, I did. I had always been told ever since I was young that I should model because that's a compliment. Like, oh, you're so pretty, you should model. And I'm just like, I don't even know what that is. Like, yeah, you're trying to tell me that I'm like pretty, but like that's cool, like whatever. But I just like the thought of actually modeling. I don't know. I enjoyed like having photos taken and like I
How'd you
enjoyed.
get into it though?
Well, here's the thing.
Like,
I'm not
where was
like
that at in your life?
I would take photos of myself, I think. It's just been so like on the side, something that I haven't really taken seriously in a big way. It's always been more just like I enjoyed a good photo myself. I really like seeing a photo of myself where I'm like, I look good. Because there's a lot of people who like take photos of you and like, oh, I look awful.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like you're hating on yourself. It's just like, that's not my angle. I
Yeah.
don't look good. You know, and it's not, yeah, it was just like, I wanted to make myself look good. So I would take photos of myself that I really liked. And I guess I had my Instagram at the time or whatever. And then I made friends with some photographers. They're doing a lot better now and they actually like charge for their work. But I was more on the entryway when they're just getting into photography. And again, it was a thing. I was like, I kind of want to like do this. I think that'd be fun. And I think I had asked around. That's the thing. I asked someone and then she came back and was like, we'll do it for free. Because I didn't have like $75 or the really, really small fee that she was asking to edit these photos. And she's like, oh, we'll just do it for free and do it for fun. And I had so much fun. Like they're taking photos. Oh, you look like a Calvin Klein model. And obviously I have no idea what I'm doing. But it was still really affirming. That was like, oh, I could do this. I could have some fun with this, you know. And so I've had fun with that. I've never really like... more recently, I have a friend who he's picking up photography again. He used to study in the 80s. He's actually a cleaning client of mine.
Okay.
That I met through some friends. So he's really cool. But he's picked up again, and he will pay me to model, like, you know, $100 here and there, just like. And he's doing something that a lot of photographers don't actually do. But he's wanting to gain more experience, so he's paying me for my time. So that's actually the first time I've actually had more paid gig kind of idea. But again, it's like something that's just been on.
What's he do with it? Is it for like social media? Or is he selling it, or like where's
He
the?
publishes it in different magazines, like smaller magazines, you know, with like,
Sure.
you know, 4,000.
Well, if he's small, he's got to get started somewhere.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's what he's doing. So he's publishing it there.
Yeah.
And is it like an article thing, or is it like, how's that work out? I'm so like, I know so little about it.
He does all the research. Like he knows all these magazines, like different pictures they're looking for, like with girl with a white shirt on and jean pants. That was one of them we did. And, you know, it's just like us having a good time together and playing around with like poses. And it's more about me just being comfortable in my skin And then also having a whole repertoire of ways to move my body and different like ways of expression. And I am such a, like, I don't know anything at all about modeling for real. When people are like in the real world, I've been around people that are actual models and seen, you know, it is a serious profession. That is,
Oh, yeah.
you have to be serious about, because you'll get all sorts of weirdos that are like, I'll take photos of you. You know, it's like, oh, no, I'm scared. So that's a whole thing that I did have to hone in some of the seriousness, like, you know, who you respond to. Because when I did start getting into it more with my friend that was starting out with photography, you know, he had a lot of potential. So I started getting more serious with him. And then it started becoming a thing where a lot of photographers were hitting me up and wanting me to model for them. And then I kind of have to coach them. And it's like, I wasn't getting paid for that, you know?
Right.
I was like, I'm having to tell you kind of like, I'm picking out the outfits, I'm picking out the location, I'm figuring out the vibe of what we're trying to express here. And it's like, I was like, okay, that's when I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to really do it and give a lot of energy and focus into this. And not only like helping photographers and me and like work together in collab, but to know like, what direction I want to go with it too, you know, if I want to do that kind of work. And I think I kind of like scaled back at that point. So
Okay. Yeah, because it was so much to get into.
yeah, I'd have to be actually serious about it. I think if you want to be good at something, you need to be serious about it.
Yeah.
You
totally.
need it, yeah, and get through like and pursue it wholeheartedly.
Yeah, you almost got to go a little crazy into
Right.
it because like in any industry, like even the podcast here, like I'm just learning so much more every time I do it. I'm like I just went through today and redid all my thumbnail titles, like for the past like 15 of them. I redid them because it was like I realized that I was doing it to address the people that I was like the community that was following me. And I thought that it was important to have the person's name in it, like Julia Rose. I would put her name in it. But then I started to realize that people are going to figure out, like whenever I share or you share, they're going to figure out who you are very quickly. I introduce you in the podcast. I put you in the description. Like all the names are there. People can figure it out. But the people that are on YouTube, which is the search engine that I'm putting it on, they don't know. Some of them do. But not all of them are going to know all these different people. So I might as well, I could save some of the keywords that are in it because people are searching keywords. And I can put what we're talking about in it, and I can reach a bigger audience and a broader audience. And I just realized that the other day. And I knew that it was a search engine. I knew YouTube was a search engine, but I don't know. I guess I just didn't realize that maybe I should just like really focus on making sure the titles are straight clickbait to what people are going to want to listen to.
Right.
Like the name, unless we are Dwayne The Rock Johnson,
Right.
it's not going to have a lot of pull to it. And so like those are the kind of things I'm like, okay, maybe I should like restructure. And I didn't realize that. And like I just keep getting more and more into it. And yeah, I totally agree. I think that with any industry, you got to like really get into it and really be all in on it,
Yeah.
or it might be hard to grow in.
Yeah, like what are you doing?
Yeah, like just doing it halfway is just not it.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I stopped. I was like, am I doing this for Instagram likes? You know? I was like, that's not even cool for me. I would just like sit on there and be like, what am I going to caption this? Like, you know, a lot of people are, you know, they're repping brands and stuff and like they're making a real living like in that whole world. But again, it was like, I didn't know if I really wanted to do that. And
Unless there's purpose behind it.
right,
Yeah, there needs to be some type of purpose behind it.
right.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I was the same way with social media. Like for the longest time, nothing on social media. And now I post every single day. So it's like, it's been such a flip, but now I have a purpose behind it.
Right.
Like I'm actually trying to impact and reach some people in this world and hope, like I had a girl on the other day that was sexually and physically abused by her stepdad from like 3 years old all the way up until 15 years old.
Jesus.
And it was such a crazy story.
She opened up about that?
She opened up about everything basically. Like left out some detail, but went into a lot of detail that
Mad
I didn't.
respect.
Yeah, and I was telling her after the podcast, I'm like, if there's one person that listens to that podcast and it helps her life out, it's worth it to me.
Well, that gives me the chills.
When I was sitting here listening, I was like, I had my arms crossed and I was like literally like clenching my fist because I was so mad that someone could be this kind of scumbag. Because I've never actually like met someone that has been through something that she's been through, and it was like such a crazy story, and I felt because I've known about it, and everybody knows it happens, but I think people kind of just like, I mean, there's a lot of like just bad things in this world, and it's like you can't be passionate about all of them, and it's just what. And as long as you never see it, you don't really think about it as much.
Right.
But when you finally meet someone, it's like, holy crap! Like the stuff that this girl went through in her life was so sad, and I'm like,
And you're seeing the other side of it, you know, where she's like had to process what the hell
she
happened.
had to go through it,
Right. Through
for
it.
years. She was saying that the locks, her deadbolt lock, is a trigger because her mom would go to work at 3 a.m. She worked in a factory, and the stepdad would get up with the mom and wake this girl up, and tell her to go lock the deadbolt. So now a deadbolt to her is a trigger. Like it like freaks her out.
That's trauma.
It's trauma.
Yeah.
It's she's 34, I think, and it was like she now works in a center that helps kids that go through it. So she considers herself a child abuse warrior now.
Wow.
And I'm like, so cool that she has like completely flipped the script to be like this person that helps these kids, and to be able to put it on a podcast to get out there to the world is so cool. And like I said, like one person, if it helps one person in the world, this whole podcast is worth it to me. And I didn't even go through it. And if I could, but just knowing that I have the platform for her to talk on that might help that person.
You're
is
an
so worth it.
accomplice
Yeah. And I'm like,
in a good way.
yeah. And I'm like, that's what like makes it so fulfilling for me, that I could be that giver to this person in life.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. Maybe, you know, in everyone's story, everybody has like a story, and it's so cool to be able to share it and give them a little bit of limelight, because there's someone else out there that might touch and relate with it. Because like there's a podcast for me lots of podcasts for me that really helped me shape who I am now and
Same.
probably will be later in life. Yeah. You were saying, what was the guy's name again?
Lewis Howes.
Lewis House?
Lewis Howes, yeah.
How? Lewis
Lewis
Howe.
Howes. Yeah, he was living on his sister's couch for a while, just like he had been an athlete, training to be an athlete, and he had this like terrible, debilitating injury. So he was recovering. He's living at his sister's house. He's broke, you know, and that's his story. And that's something that's like you're developing now too. As you're talking, it's interesting, like you're able to relate with like your stuff that you've been through, like, you know, with the car shop and like stuff like that. But he would share his story and just kind of like how he did go from like rags to riches in his own way. You know, at the time where I was like, literally, I don't know how I'm going to pay rent. You know, I have my kid here. I'm like struggling, and I started like cleaning again. It was just like, I needed to listen to those people that had been through that and had gone on that path already and had been victorious.
Yes.
You know, and now they're talking to other people and just like getting your mind in the right place. I think this is so important. And that was the time when I was listening to him, is like of realizing, oh, these thoughts that I'm thinking in my head, they're very important. They're holding weight. You know, if I'm telling myself like, oh, I'm just always going to be suffering from anxiety, I'm never going to feel better. You know, if I just kept telling myself that, I would have never gotten out of that place. But I had to actually work my way out of like a mental hole. And podcasts like that helped. You know, hearing other people's stories and stuff that they'd been through. I remember I had gotten my own job with cleaning, so I was like making some progress, kind of like figuring out what I wanted to do. I started to merge out of cleaning for my sister and was like, okay, I think I want to get my own clients. I could felt like we were kind of dividing ways a little bit, and she had been hiring other people. But I was working at a job, and I was listening to a podcast he had with Lindsey Sterling. She's the violinist player. She was like the first person to dance and play violin.
Okay.
She puts on her own shows and her own production. She designs her entire show. She works tirelessly to travel around the country and perform. And it's like hearing her story, I broke down like crying, you know, and it was like the first time I'd been feeling something. Like I connected with someone's story and what she had gone through and the hardships she's experienced. And it spoke to me, and it helped me remind me a little bit of myself and things that are important to me, like being true to myself and like really working an honorable way. You know, there've been multiple times where it's like, oh, just sell your body. Like that's what you could do. People do that all the time and they make a killing. And it was like, no, it's not about money. I want to find meaning in my life, and I want it to resonate with me. I want to be proud of myself and the work and the way I'm putting. No shame to people that are doing that kind of work, but it didn't resonate with me.
Yeah.
So it's like listening to that, I heard her, she had overcome things in her life in big ways, and I was on the path. I was a similar path and reminding myself that I need to get myself up out of the dirt and
Yeah.
like,
And
create
that's
something
why
for
them
myself.
stories are so important.
Right.
That's why they're so important because how many people in the world are going through things like that? Like more than just me and you, because I had lots of dark times like that as well. And it's like, yeah, if it wasn't for them stories, I don't think because it's very easy for you to stay down. Like your thoughts start weighing really hard on yourself, and then until you can find a way to get yourself to not think like that. And a lot of times you just need some hope, right, or some faith, like to hear that somebody else could have went through the same thing that you're going through, and then they came out victorious. Is like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it too. I think that's why people like music so much. I know that's why people like music so much. Like that's why music has been so impactful for so many people.
Music therapy.
Yeah, I guarantee that's why my friend Jimmy does it, because he was huge into music. He loves music, and I know he's gone through like some bad relationships and some hard times in his life, and I think that's what like ultimately led him to where he is. But yeah, there's artists that I listen to that I just have a love for them. Like they can come out with the worst song ever, I'm still gonna love their song because I just love who they are. Like I love that where they came from, like what their message was, and I know like that's huge for a lot of people. And I think that's why podcasts are getting so big, because people actually get to tell their story. Because not everybody, music is an art of its own, and I can't sing to save my life, and I certainly. I used to play the guitar, but I could not do both. I could not play the guitar and sing. And I love the idea of it, but I could not do it. So, yeah, to have a podcast where I can talk and I get to share my story on here, but I get to share other people's story as well. So, I think it's pretty cool.
I think it's super cool.
Is there anything else you want to talk about on the podcast before we get off? I know you got a meeting with Robert and Julia.
Oh yeah.
After this,
I can't leave them hanging.
yeah. So I don't want to like.
I didn't even look at the clock.
We're doing all right on time. I think.
Cool.
I think you'll be fine. We can.
Y'all be right.
Yeah, they'll be fine. But is there anything else you want to talk about before we get off here? Is there any detail we missed?
I would say something that I'm back to the drawing board again now, but I really, if something's not working and you just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, like I wanted to make a career out of art, but I needed to pay the bills, and it was like forcing myself and like do something beautiful and sell it. And it was like, it's not going to work. I tried so hard. Just stop, like just switch up. You need to find some way that you can keep energy moving. I would say the biggest thing is I visualized, not to be too woohoo, but I really thought about what do I want to make for myself. And you have to really be focused and ask yourself the hard questions. Like, what do I want in a job? Mm-hmm. I want freedom. I want security. I want to be able to help people. And that was some of the questions I had to ask myself. It's like, what is a job? Job is really just helping people. Like you said on your podcast, you're helping people with stories. It's like, that really helped me know, okay, I can clean for people, and I got the whole schedule. I said, I want to fill my schedule and I want to work for myself and have my own freedom. And I was able to get that. So it's like, you need to know what you want.
Yeah.
And ask yourself those questions, and then you'll inevitably get it. You'll always get it.
So by asking yourself those questions,
Yeah.
you kind of figure out what you want.
Yeah. And you can go for it.
Yeah. And to add to that, I would say like, if you don't know what you want, and you're like, well, how do I know what questions to ask myself? I think just listening to your story, like one important thing is just do it. Mm-hmm. Like go out, find something to do. It might not be the thing that you exactly want to do. It might not be like the thing that you do for the rest of your life, but it might be the connecting piece to the next piece that you need, right? Like what you do here might be what opens the door to your next adventure, journey, or next career, or whatever. That might be Mr. Opportunity right there. So if you're in a lull where you're just sitting around, not sure what to do, just start something, and then like Juliet said, start writing down exactly what you want, and you can figure it out by process of elimination, right? Like what you can say, what don't I want?
Right.
Well, I don't want to work for somebody else, right? Which is basically the same thing you were saying is I want to work for myself. If you can't figure out what you want, figure out what you don't want.
Right.
So I think that's a great way to end it. Judith, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I do really appreciate it. You're a great guest. You're a great listener. I appreciate you taking your time out because I know you don't live close to here. So it was to give me a couple hours of your time means a lot to me. I know there's people that are going to be listening. They're going to really love it. And yeah, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And if you guys are still listening, make sure you guys like, subscribe, share with your friends. We're still trying to grow. We're getting close to 500, but we're going for 1,000. We're going to get there. So appreciate the help. Peace.